Like notes through the hourglass, these are the songs of our lives.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Songs of Our Lives. I'm your host, Brad Rose. I am a musician, a composer, a writer, the founder of Foxy Digitalis, and somebody who thinks about music and sound far more than is probably healthy. Each week, I invite on a guest, and we talk about the songs that have meant the most to them and stuck with them throughout their lives. This week, I am super excited to have Helado Negro on the show. I am a massive fan of his, and when he expressed interest in doing this, I was just so stoked. I was glad we were able to make it happen. His new album, PHASOR, is out on this coming Friday, February 9th on 4AD. It is an absolute delight of a record. I keep listening to it. I keep finding new things I love about it. He always creates these like songs that they feel like their own little worlds, and like they're so I don't know, like I don't have like synesthesia or anything like that, but I always feel like I can see his songs, if that makes sense. And they're just, he creates these really wonderful spaces that just kind of wrap themselves around you, and you get lost in them. And this record it's fantastic. So yeah, and he turned me on to some stuff I did not know about, and I even say on here like, oh, I got to do some post episode homework. This episode has caused me to find some new things that I love, to spend a little money, and nothing wrong with those things, especially when you're spending it on music and supporting artists. Real quick reminder that you can support this show and everything Foxy Digitalis does on Patreon, patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis. If you're a fan of the show and you want a little bit more for $3 a month, you can sign up. You get the episodes early. You get a whole extra Patreon section where some of the real fun happens. And it just, that regular ongoing support just really, really helps. So think about it, and if it's not for you, that's fine. Take some of the money, go buy the new Helado Negro album. So we recorded this a couple weeks ago. And we had a blast, and I hope you enjoy it. So my guest today is a musician, a songwriter, a singer, and someone who always makes music that's just really makes me feel good. Welcome to the show, Helado Negro.
Hello, thank you.
How's it going?
It's going well. Today's beautiful.
Yeah, it's actually above freezing here today, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, here too. It was 8 yesterday where I'm at. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, nice. Do you know Burial Beer Company?
I know of them. Yeah, I'm gonna play a show at their new venue called Eulogy.
Oh yeah. So Tim Gormley, who's one of the co-founders, and he runs their wine program. I had him on a couple weeks ago.
Oh, sick. Did he talk about their music series that they have?
Yeah. We talked a bit about that, and he was talking about the festival they do. And he has a record label he started a couple years ago too. So just, yeah, Asheville. I need to get out there because lots of cool stuff happening. But so you got a new record coming out, and it is one of the things I wanted to ask about because I really love the description. It was kind of a description of the record, but I feel like it kind of describes your music in general. Is like the description of your work is dreamscapes. And I feel like one thing I've always wondered is how you approach basically your writing, and like, because to me, it's like the music and the lyrics, it has this very kind of surreal feeling to it that's mixed with like warmth and tenderness and all of these things, but it's, I don't know. But I'm curious, like, how do you start with lyrics? Do you start with music? Is it just kind of a organic thing?
Yeah. I Yes, to all of it. No, I think the hardest part about describing that, like the process, I think it's like you don't remember a lot of it, so it's kind of like the beginning or the end, but never in between. Um, and for me, I think where I try to begin is kind of like in a place from like doing like a lot of repetitive things. So meaning I kind of create processes for myself, kind of like unwritten rules that I'm doing in my studio, you know, whether it's like, you know, there was an era where like I was like, you know, Monday I'll have a capo on like my first fret and then write 25 ideas with that. And then Tuesday on the second fret and then Thursday. And by the time I got to Friday or whatever, like maybe, or whatever, I skipped Wednesday and Thursday, but by the time I got to Thursday, I would already be working on a song and I would forget about all those other ideas or whatever. Like I wouldn't be thinking about them. And what was really cool, it's like, it's kind of just like pushing yourself into a direction, creating these exercises. And then all of a sudden you're like lost in like an idea. And, you know, and then you abandon that process. It doesn't become like dogmatic. So I think that's kind of like, yeah, I try to create these processes to kind of live in and not necessarily feel like anything. I'm not tethered to like an identity of what I am as an artist, you know?
Yeah. I really
meaning
like
like
that,
you know, writing lyrics or like, you know, and here's a song and then I wrote a song, you know, sounds are sounds, and then you kind of just put them together.
I love that and couldn't agree more. I have to ask, well, actually you posted a thing the other day on Twitter of this synthesizer, this, I think you call it a supercomputer controlled synthesizer.
Yeah.
And it's I kind of just like stared at that and it was like a 10-second video or something. I think I just watched it on a loop like 50 times. It's like so mesmerizing. Can you just tell me a little bit about that synthesizer?
Yeah, I was put in contact with, well, it was shared to me. The information about it was via a professor, musician out of Indianapolis. I don't know if he's still there, just Jordan Munson in 2015. And he shared it with another friend of mine and was like, yo, I think you might be interested in this. And so what it is it's a synthesizer that was invented by Salvatore Martorano, and it lives at the D'Souza Archives in Champaign, Illinois. And the D'Souza Archives, like, you know, houses like paperwork, written works, some instruments. They have like a little mini gallery. It's very tiny. Excellent like archivist Scott Schwartz, who works there. He's amazing. They have like the Harry Parch papers there, but he so the machine lives there, you know, the synthesizer, and it's wonderful. And Salvatore was a composer and teacher, and so was his wife, and so in their own right they did so much work, but the machine itself was like a way ahead of its time, like using a supercomputer, literally a supercomputer, to control analog oscillators. And this was like, you know, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
Using a supercomputer called the Iliac that I think was like an IBM or who knows, like some government machine, you know, heavy number crunching. Yeah, so that's what it was. And so then I recorded a whole bunch in 2019 and then kind of stumbled back upon the recordings because I had some intention with them. And then I was like, you know what, let me just not be so, again, with like the rules and like just be like, use some of these sounds and see what happens. And so I started to, you know, and then I went back recently to do some more recordings with the machine, but it's in there, and it's in a lot of this new record, which is really fun. It's kind of this incredible, for me, it's an incredible machine. I think somebody else would be like, oh, this kind of makes like really dumb sounds or something. I mean, in respect to, it's really difficult to put it in context where it's just like in context, like nobody was doing that. And to have access to have access to like a supercomputer in the 1970s, it's not like now, like no one had computers, you know what I mean?
Right.
Let alone a supercomputer. And then he's like, I want to make this machine that makes some crazy ass sounds, you know? Right. And like, you know, they're like, yes. I think that's like, it's kind of a crazy scenario.
Yeah, well, especially thinking, I mean, back then, like all the resources that would go into a machine to make weird sounds. Like now, everybody can get on their computer and make some weird sounds. It's a lot simpler, I guess. But I don't know. I think I'm a sucker for things like that. Like it's like this kind of wild romanticism to it or something. Of
me too. I absolutely love it. I love it in respect to not just the nostalgia of the machine, but I think more so just like I think it's like what you pursue like through these talks, and then like what everybody pursues. Maybe that we're like maybe the people who are listening. It's just like we're just like interested in people who are doing interesting things because humans are very interesting,
Yeah.
and it's just like kind of like that pursuit is maybe the most inspiring part for me, at least. You know, it's not just the machine, but just the intention that he put behind it was like, wow, like I
Yeah.
want more of this from more people. You know.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, speaking of interesting people doing interesting things, being Foxy Digitalis and the music that I often cover, I have to ask about LFO, because I got to ask about Pauline Oliveros
Yeah.
and Lupe Lopez. Pauline is kind of a hero of mine. Like I'm hugely familiar with her work. Like just love. Yeah. But Lupe Lopez this was new to me, like learning about it, hearing this song, wanting to know more. And so I'm just curious, when you first encountered her work and kind of what inspired like the song that references them. And I love this song. I love the way it sort of captures this feeling of like tension, and it like spreads it through this beautiful song that kind of there's like an anxiousness, but then it kind of dissipates through the music. And I think about that, especially with Pauline, like,
Yeah.
her deep listening and stuff, that feels very in tune with that.
Absolutely. I think, well, Lupe Lopez, I only know of who she is through the internet, and how I found out about her work was like when I was really young. I first making music. My friend had a Fender Vibro Champ, and like I was looking to buy one, and I was like, oh shit, should I get a used one or should I get a new one? You know,
Right.
So I was like going down this like rabbit hole of like reading like, you know, the different iterations. Well, in the 60s or whatever, you know, and then so I was on some like Vibro Champ, like the nooks and crevices of the Vibro Champ world, and I stumbled upon some forum that had a photo of Lupe Lopez, and they're like, oh, like Lupe Lopez worked at Fender guitar, and she built champs back in the day, like the first ones, and like the tweed ones, and I was like, oh cool, and then I was like, oh cool, and I was like looking at this photo, and it was just like so mysterious to me, just like kind of thinking about this woman who is there working, but and creating these amplifiers, but also like kind of like this idea of like how she, like there's like a legacy without her knowing, like she signed her inside the amp on this piece of masking tape for like quality control checks or whatever, you know. And then these amps become sought after, not just because her name is in there, but you know, they have some kind of like uniqueness through her like talent and touch and her care and her like deeper listening to what maybe her body's telling her to do when she's making this or whatever it is, you know. And I thought it was a really unique connection, and thinking about that, how like someone's care and touch and deeper work making something, and then later people are like listening to these amplifiers and being like, it's inspiring them to create something because of this unique tone that's coming out. Mm-hmm. And they're like, this is not like any other one. This one's unique. And you know, how we can point back to these moments and find somebody who made it unique. And I think it ties back to Pauline about these ideas of like how we can find all these like smaller things in our life, and if we're listening and looking deeper, and we're gonna be inspired by them a little bit more, and kind of like it enriches our life in a deeper way when we're like thinking about these smaller aspects of what we're doing, you know. And that's how it really touched me, was just kind of like how this is like a really beautiful like kind of ecosystem of like thinking about like that, and then all these things that, whether it's like creative energy or just like human energy of just like socially like aging with the world. I think it's really interesting, you know.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. I love that connection. That just puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, I don't know who she is ultimately, just from these amps, and that's, for me, that's enough, you know.
Right? Yeah, I think that's so. And like you were saying, like this idea of that she was, you know, her name is on them for one reason, but then people realize like, oh wait a minute, all these amps that have this person's name on it, there's something here, that is, that's beautiful. Well, talking about being younger, going down rabbit holes, learning about amps. Let's probably get into this. And to start, I always like to go all the way back to the beginning and ask, what is the first song that you remember?
Yeah. The first song I remember was my dad playing a song by Piero called Yo Vengo. And Piero is this Argentinian artist. It was kind of like 60s. This production is like, I mean, when I listened, as I was getting older and I'd listened to this like throughout college as well. Like it was just like, it affected me so much. And I loved it. It was just like kind of haunting. There's like these haunting choral like arrangements all throughout it. And it's like really weird, like early stereo, possibly like post mono mixing, where it's just like things are just slammed to the left and
right
to the right. And I'm just like, and I'm like such a sucker for that kind of mix.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely love that. Like that's like, if anything's mixed like that, I listen to it no matter what it is. I'm like, oh yeah, I can listen to it. Because I feel like there's like such a cool intentionality with that to kind of create like a just a spaciousness that's not so like tricky. It's just like so it's simple, you know. So yeah, that's the song.
I don't know what he's singing about because I don't speak Spanish, but the song feels so powerful. Like he's like there's this emotion that's completely overtaken his soul or something, and he can't keep it in, and he just has to sing it. And his voice is just so oh my, his voice is so wonderful. Yeah, I really love this. I hadn't heard this. This is unfamiliar to me, but this is, speaking of rabbit holes, this is one I want to go down.
Yeah, that album I highly recommend to anyone who like wants to kind of like start diving into like 60s, like, you know, South American Latin, like Latin American pop and rock music that kind of you know, lives in its own world. And Argentina has a distinct history because it was like this like kind of like war that they had with England, and then there was just kind of like, you know, the way there's and the dictatorships within like that part of the world. There's just like so much music that's so vibrant that kind of like we make associations to it, but it has its own identity as well, you know.
Was there like growing up, was there music around a lot in the house? And like, I mean, you were saying like you remember listening to this with your dad, or your dad listened to this. Was there a lot of music around? Yeah.
My dad would pretty much, you know, he would only be playing like South American pop music. And you know, like the first time I heard like a Beatles song, it was really funny. I can't remember what it was, but it was by a group in Ecuador, from Ecuador, called Los Corvettes, like the Corvettes. And they did a lot of covers, which was pretty like standard for a lot of different bands, like rockish bands from the 60s. So they had like a lot of Beatles covers, but I didn't know it was the Beatles, you know, until I heard like the one in English, you know. And then I was like, oh, this is the Beatles. This is like an Ecuadorian band covering a Beatles song. And I never knew that until like, I don't know, until like I was a lot older. So stuff like that, you know. And my mom grew up in New York, and she was like into like a lot more like, I mean, they were both into like dance music too, like salsa and cumbias and merengue. So that was pretty constant in our house as well, you know.
When did you start playing? Like, what was was guitar your first instrument? Did you start with piano? Did you start with something else?
I started playing a guitar. Yeah, my uncle gave me a guitar, and I started. My dad would always on the weekends we'd have parties, and my dad would always bring in musicians to the house, and then like everybody, like, you know, the night would be like people, you know, come, and then you eat, and then you hang, and then people drink, and then dance, and then everybody starts singing. And so then somebody's like playing covers, and everybody's just singing together, you know, different songs that everybody knows. And so that was like really inspiring, because I like you gotta, it's not so much like this kind of ego trip of like I want to learn this instrument. It's more like this like kind of like fascination with like seeing joy all around you, like people really enjoying like singing and enjoying like the song and the music, and kind of like I always wanted to be an enabler of that, you know. I wanted to like enable like this feeling of like togetherness and joy and And so yeah, I got this guitar and I started like overdubbing with a cassette like karaoke machine, and I thought I invented overdubbing. You know, I was like, damn, I was like, this is sick, man.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, I remember like I got my first 4-track when I don't know, I was early teens or something, and it blew my mind because I was like, oh, this is how people make music. I thought it was like I don't know. I didn't know what I thought overdubbing was, but it seemed like this magical, mysterious thing to me. I mean, it still sometimes seems like this magical.
It really is. Thing. It's like every time I record something, I'm like, oh, I can put something on top of it, and I still enjoy that. I'm like, I can't believe I'm able to add more. You know,
I know,
and then take it away.
I know. Yeah, it is. It's magic.
This is how God must feel.
That's awesome. That's like what a formative memory. I can only imagine. That's beautiful. Okay, well, on a different tangent, what is the song that it makes you cry or it makes you feel, whether it actually makes you cry or not, it makes you kind of feel that feeling of, well, I mean, you know, we cry for all sorts of things, but
right. Yeah, just like a deep, like kind of just like shaking like your soul kind of song. And yeah, my friend Xenia Rubinos wrote a song called Cherry Tree, and I learned of her work a long time ago, and her and I are really close friends, and now we are, you know, at the time I didn't know her, and I remember, you know, listening to the song, just like falling in love with it. But I remember hearing the song live one time outdoors at outside the Brooklyn Museum, where she did an outdoor show, and I remember like just like being overwhelmed by like how like amazing and beautiful and heartbreaking and kind of intense the song was, and like kind of just like starting, you know, just like I was tearing up and like starting to feel like a flood of intense feelings. And then I look over to my partner and she's bawling, and I'm like, okay, I think it's both of us, you know. And yeah, and I just it's just really like I feel that, and it really does. It really just like drums that up in me, you know.
It's her voice on this song is, oh my gosh, it's just like this luminescent thing.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, and then together, I mean, the whole song is really incredible, but gosh, her like, and there's to me, one of the things that really got me is I think it's a piano. There's just like this really delicate piano melody that's set against this whole thing, that because like the rhythm and everything feels, it's like this full on, it's like very powerhouse heavy thing, but then there's like this delicate piano, and then her voice just like shredding over it.
Yeah. It's like the drums and her voice like live in this like extremely like beautiful dynamic world where it's like loud and soft, and like there's like an intensity, and it's like just how drums make you feel, right? Like when someone plays drums softly, or then when someone plays drums loudly, you know, it's just like I feel like her voice embodies that, the characteristics of a drum for sure, in that respect of how it can like push and pull you, you know. And I think, and then like all the melodic qualities that kind of like you associate with the voice, I think they're all there already, you know.
Yeah, and I think there, you know, I think a lot about the sort of like physicality of music and the way that, you know, I mean, there's sound waves, there are vibrations, and you can feel it in your body. And I was listening to this yesterday, and I had it up really loud on the stereo. Nobody was home, and you can, it just, I mean, you feel like it shakes your bones. It's it's incredible.
It's true. I'm glad you were feeling it like that. You know, that's good to hear. I'm so happy.
Yeah. I'd love to. I mean, I've only heard the recording. I can only imagine live. Yeah. I bet it just goes to another level.
Yeah. It's a fucked up one. And I've seen it live a lot. So imagine that. I've cried a lot.
Do you cry? Do you consider yourself a crier?
I actually am not. It's definitely, I don't know why, man. I'm like a very resistant to crying. But there's things that definitely like nail me sometimes. Like just like it's like I don't know. I think I'm always like on guard about crying, and it's kind of part of my personality, and I don't know why. But then it's kind of beautiful when it comes in such a like just unconscious way, you know, just subconscious.
Yeah.
Just like I'm like impressed that it happened, you know?
Right. Yeah. I feel that. Well, on the other side of this, what's a song that'll always put you in a better mood?
This is a little bit more like a deeper cut. So sorry, I don't mean to be like so like heady with stuff, but there's this artist called, I don't know anything about him. Only things that I've seen on Discogs, but his name's Caliban, and I got the 7-inch because who was it? I don't know if it's Invisible Cities or somebody put out one of the sides of the 7-inch, and it's like this digital reggae kind of like up tempo, kind of like good feeling vibe. And this song is too, but it's the B-side to that, and I love it more. And it's called Open Mind, and I love all the lyrics, and it's just like kind of like the slinkiest, grooviest. Like you're like,
yeah,
I don't know. You're just like, damn, this is sick,
Yeah, this is just like you're just floating on the air when you got this on. It is. There's something too. I've talked about this a couple times in this show, and I think it was Andrew Peckler who really put it well. We were talking a lot about like reggae and like dub and dance hall and stuff, and how there's just something undeniable about the like a relentless rhythm and a sweet melody on top of it that just does it for me. Like it just makes me so happy.
Yeah, you're right. I'm a huge fan of a lot of reggae, and when I moved to New York in 2006, I remember, like looking for records, and I kind of being like obsessed with trying to find the records that I wanted to find, and not submitting to like being like, oh, where am I? Like I'm in like this neighborhood that's mostly like I also grew up in like a Caribbean neighborhood in Florida, but then like being in a Caribbean neighborhood in or West Indian neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna start buying like everything I find that's like cheap, or
yeah.
So we got to learn a lot about like soca and a lot of different reggae and just other music from the Caribbean, and I bought a lot. I listened to a lot of shit I didn't like, but then a lot of shit that was just kind of like starting to open up my mind, like, and that for me, that I think that's why I like this song a lot, is because it kind of like speaks to that. It was like it really spoke to like, what are you doing to kind of like think about when you're listening to music, and not thinking about the things that you always think are your places to be when you're listening to music. It's like what are all these other things that are like out there that people are creating that you think you don't like,
Yeah.
And for whatever reason you think you don't like them, and I love that, and I feel like that's kind of been like a mission for sure, like to kind of like make sure that I'm not like pretending I think I know what I like,
Yeah, I think about that all the time. I think I'm always trying to like challenge myself, like, oh, I don't think I like this kind of thing, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try, or I'm gonna, like, what do I know? And I did one of the earliest ones of these I did was with Eric Mingus, who's Charles Mingus's youngest son.
Oh wow!
And Eric was saying how one of the things his dad taught him was that like always find at least one thing you appreciate about a piece of music, even if you never want to listen to it again or you don't like it, like find one thing about it that you can appreciate. And I was like, yeah, that feels right. I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And if it's good enough for Charles Mingus, it's good enough for me.
For sure.
Well, okay. On that note, though, what's the greatest, objectively, the greatest song of all time?
Yeah, I definitely. This is obviously the impossible question. So, I gave whatever was like on the top of my list. I mean, in front of me immediately, and I had just I was kind of obsessed with this song. It's like this Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes song, but it's Teddy Pendergrass singing, and it's called Bad Luck. And it's like, I think it's like an epic. I think this is when it came out. It's like it became like a cult classic in a lot of like disco and like clubs. It's like one that definitely comes on like late night to kind of like just like put the party at like 12,
Yeah. It is it's like one of the greatest bass lines ever written, I think, in this song. There's like a part, it's about midway through, it's just like grooving, it's going along at 100 miles an hour, and then Teddy just ramps it up.
Yeah, I don't know how he like that song just continually, when he starts screaming and obviously it's like really cool because it. You know what I thought about when I wanted to when you asked this question, what I thought about, I was like, what's the greatest song or that song? I was like, and when you said, you know, if an alien showed up or something, you know, and I was like, shit, I would play this for an alien to be like, you know what, this is the embodiment of us. Like I feel like it's just all bad luck because we're all like trying to like, we're like in the situation and we're just like kind of like oblivious and dancing and kind of just like someone's like screaming at the top of their lungs talking about like the insane shit that's happening, you know, in this country specifically and, you know, all over the world. And so we're like, damn, we're grooving to this though, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, we're riding the wave.
It's a dope song though. It's, you know, I mean, objectively it's, you know, it's a great, there's so many great songs. I think that but it's definitely a contender in a lot of respects, you know? So. Oh,
I love it. Yeah. One of my notes is on here is that this is some of the best music ever recorded. So I'm like, I didn't know this is what you were picking for this, but it's, yeah. And I love too that it's like 6 or 7 minutes long. So it's just, there's like a relentlessness to it, but it's just like so tight and it never, I don't know. I could listen to it like on a 2-hour loop or something and just listen to that bass line and Teddy just wailing and
it's part of that whole like Philly sound kind of like identity, you know, where it's so I feel like there's such a like pedigree with it in terms of like what they were doing, the quality of it. It's just such beyond like the song itself. I feel like the way they capture, you know, like the musicians themselves are just like out of control, man. You know, it's everything they're doing. You're just like, damn, you're like, this is crazy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like everybody is so like, yeah, they're just like technically proficient. They're so good, but it's, I don't know. And they do, it's one of those things where it's like everybody, they could play anything and it's like it, but it doesn't feel like it feels technical, but it doesn't. Like it feels loose and free, but the musicianship is just it's on another level. Oh, incredible. Yeah. And then add Teddy to it and it just pushes it over the top. I love that answer. I love that answer a lot. So okay, well what's a song you used to love but now you heard it recently or you think about it and you're like, I'm not so sure.
I know that's a hard one for me. I couldn't really think of a good answer for this only because I don't think I've heard it yet. I don't think I've actually heard anything that I'm like, oh, this doesn't do it for me. You know, things that I've I think if anything, honestly, my own music, you know, I'll go back and listen to things that I've made. I'm like, oh my God, like this does not do it for me at all. Like I'm not where I am or where I was, and I'm definitely in a different place. So if anything, that's for me, that's the best answer. You know, it's
that's a really good answer. God, I feel that in my soul.
About my music. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm constantly trying to organize my, so I have a 10-year-old daughter and one of my big fears is someday I'm going to leave her with this mess of an archive of like all the music I've made and it's going to be, so I'm constantly trying to organize it and stuff. And I'll go back and listen to stuff from, I don't know, when I've been doing this for a while, but I'm just like, oh my God, Brad, what were you doing here?
Delete.
Yeah. It's like, that doesn't need to be in the archive. But no, I think that's a great answer. Well, kind of along those lines, what's a song that people maybe is like not critically acclaimed or people don't like, but you love it anyway?
Yeah, and that was a tough one too. I think that's like, that question is kind of like, I feel like that's beyond my grasp because I feel like I'm like not qualified to like answer that.
Yeah.
In respect to like, there's a lot of things on the radio that I feel like younger kids listen to. And then I was like, whoa, what? That was me. There was definitely moments where like my mom was like, I remember I was like really young. And I remember when like Onyx came out with like Back the Fuck Up and like,
yeah.
And like I was like playing it loud as hell, like in the house, and I was like, you know, vacuuming my downstairs living room or something. And my mom was like, "Turn this down," and I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "I like the music, I just don't like the lyrics." I was like, "All right."
That feels familiar.
More so that they were just saying like "fuck" 100 times, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, it's a hard question too. And I think like I that makes a lot of sense to me too. Like I had to come up with. There's a song by this German. It's like this German disco song called Rasputin by Boney M.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, like I love that song, but my daughter hates it so much. So anytime like I put it on, she just starts yelling at me to turn it
Oh
on.
my
So,
god.
it's yeah. I think it's like one of the most absurd, wonderful songs ever made. But that's a story for another day. Okay, well let's move on to something a little sweeter, and let's talk about what do you think? What is like one of their most romantic songs?
Yeah, this one was kind of like a newer find, meaning like maybe in the past like 5 or 4 years. It's a song by Maria Marquez called Loveroom. And I think she did that song with somebody else. I forgot his name.
Frank Harris.
Frank Harris. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a collaboration they made, and I didn't know her work at all, and I got that record, and the record is just phenomenal to me. It's like this beautiful, like kind of like 80s, like an ideal situation. You kind of, for me, it's like what I had always hoped, for music from this era that wasn't like so commercial would sound like, and I feel like it kind of checks so many boxes for me. And this one is just like so cool, talking about your love room,
Yeah, I know.
How much more romantic can you get? And I feel like, I guess the song, why I think it's so romantic, I think the easiest thing for like romantic music, people would say like someone like Sade, and I feel like this song kind of like touches on like a lot of Sade's spirit of like what she invokes in a song, and I feel like it's there, but this kind of like has a little bit more of like an experimental kind of like perspective on it than so much like this kind of like smooth, super slick production, Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. I remember when this, because I think it like got reissued a couple years ago. Because I only heard it in the last few years too, and it just kind of blew my mind. And her voice on here is just, it's like intoxicating.
Yeah,
I'm hanging on every word.
Yeah, it's so seductive. It's like so like you're just like, yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
And yeah, I always feel like when I think of songs that feel romantic, like there's just like a vibe, for lack of a better word. And to me, the song, there's like the idea, like this love room, and there's this kind of like, it feels like you're in this sort of like smoky, hazy environment where it's like everything feels like soft and it's seductive is a really good word. And that whole record is, if any people haven't heard it, it's phenomenal.
I know. I really try to recommend it as much as possible because I'm like, man, this record is like, it's up there. I'm surprised it's not up there for a lot of people as like, this is like a #1 record,
Yeah, and I can't believe too, because that it was in some ways like I listened to it and it's like, oh, this was made in the 80s, and it sound like so much of it sounds so contemporary, and like it's great record, and super romantic song. Well, what's a song that changed your perspective on an artist for better or for worse?
You know what? I didn't answer this question, but I actually have a great answer for you. Hold on.
Oh, good. Okay.
And it really like it's like it was like very, so you're obviously not going to be too maybe you know it immediately, but it's like shit. It's this Bonnie Raitt song, and it's called Washiga Go Do, and it's from 1973, and it's a reggae song she did.
Oh wow! No, I don't know that song.
Yeah, and it's like, hold on, I'm gonna try to send it to you right now, but it's so good. It's like, do you want to listen to it for a second? Do you have time?
Yeah, I can listen to it for a second.
You might as well listen to it.
Yeah, I can edit me listening to it out because people maybe don't want to hear this. Maybe they want to hear my live. Yeah, the magic of post production.
I'll describe what his face looks like right now as he's listening to it.
Okay.
Nothing but he's excited.
Wow.
See, this is good recordings of you reacting.
If somebody played this for me and didn't tell me what it was, Never in a million years would I guess this is Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
Wow. This is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Good one.
Man. So where did you first, how did this come on your radar?
This was like, I think it's like on topic to what's like happening in our like contemporary like world of like loving and enjoying music. The best way to find out about music is through friends. And I feel like a homie sent it to me, was like, man, check this out. And I was like, what? And kind of just like, I think that was like a mind-blowing moment where I was like, I don't really know Bonnie Raitt's music. And then this was kind of like, I guess I'm going to listen to this album now.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of like, it like cracks open this, like what we we're talking about before, like what else can you fit into your mind that, and kind of like reteach yourself or unlearn something,
That's great. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go listen to this album when we're done here. So.
It's so trippy, right? It's like, it's one of those songs where you're like, okay, she was on something at that point. That's cool,
Yeah, that's amazing.
And she's dope in general. Like I've read about, I've seen her like as a public person. I think that's all I know her as. I don't really know her music specifically, but I think, I'm sure there's like super hardcore fans. So in a way, and maybe it's like, it kind of like, checks out that this was like what tip she was on,
Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. See, this is one of the reasons I love doing this show, because like selfishly, I just get to get to learn about cool.
Yeah, man, you get all the deep cuts.
I know, it's amazing. Okay, well, I love that. That's awesome, and that's like my next hour after this sorted. Well, what are your favorite lyrics? Whether it's a song, a single line, a verse.
Yeah, there's this this was hard to think about, obviously, because it's like, this is like right up there with like what is objectively the best song of all time.
Right.
So there is no great lyric, or for me,
right.
I think words that people write are so great in general. I think people write some of the, I think, hilarious and fucked up, and I think it's great. I really do. I think lyrics and poetry is so beautiful, and I think it's so like remarkable. Whether it's like pretentious or whether it's like so like beautifully like honest. And I think the person that I picked for this was like, I feel like he embodies so much of that. Kind of like can be so pretentious, can be so honest, can be so like insanely like seems like the well is never dry when he's writing. It's Andre 3000, and and this is like very specific. It's like this like feature that he's on this T.I. song, and I always fast forward to his part. No offense to T.I., but if you have Andre as a feature on your song, your song is at that point it's just about him, right? So the lyrics are so amazing in the song, and I'm trying to remember them all off the top of my head, but they're just like, he's just, oh man, I'd have to pull them up. I don't think I have them in front of me.
One of the yeah, I am such a sucker for Andre, and one of the lines in this song I think that really always stuck out to me is, it's like, there's a quarry that is dug so deep in a father's chest when he feels that he's broken up his nest.
Oh wow!
Like,
wow.
It's just
that is a good one.
Yeah, but whenever your list came through, I'd been listening. It was the day before to on Frank Ocean's Blonde record. Andre, so there's the song Solo, and then there's the solo reprise, which Frank Ocean figured it out. Like, okay, if I'm gonna have Andre guest on here, I'm just gonna make his part its own track.
Yeah.
But that's like one of my favorite guest spots because he just goes.
Yeah. No, and you really don't feel like it'll stop. But there's one lyric, and I think you should read it for yourself at the end. But it's essentially, he's saying like that anybody, he's essentially saying like anybody on the internet is gonna say his verse isn't good, and I like how he's just talking about like commenting, and he said, it's boring. Like he's saying like, this is what somebody said. And you can hear it in the song. He's like, it's boring. And then he's like, really? And it's kind of like the way he ends like the phrasing. It's just like this magnetic and beautiful cadence where you're kind of like pushed and pulled into like rhythms and pushed and pulled into like storylines and kind of like things that are illustrated in your head, and it's really special. And I think it's kind of like it's cool when you can hear someone really speak so fluid in their own language of expression that they've kind of created, you know?
Yeah. No, I love Andre. He seems like just such a genuine, wonderful weirdo in the best possible way. Like, what do you think about the Blue Sun, the new record? Have you listened to it?
Yeah, I thought it was dope, and I feel like it was cool because it's like speaking to a lot of things that like I think a lot of like we're probably all in the same lane of what he was probably listening to. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's cool to hear him like step into that lane and like know that like there's like a whole world that like is into that, you know? And it's kind of like we're like, oh yeah, that's dope. Definitely into that. You know what I mean? Like there was like I think it was like not so much like an aha moment, maybe for people who were like more into his like mainstream rap shit, but I think maybe for people who appreciated it as him as a creative person, we're just like, cool, definitely, like could see this happening, you know? And like it wasn't, I don't think it was like a shock or surprise. It was just more of an appreciation of like like his work.
I totally feel that. And I think it's really cool that it is inevitably going to introduce a lot of people to this other world of music that they didn't know about before this, and I think that's awesome. So all respect to Andre. What is the song that you have or you can listen to the most?
Yeah, that's a hard one. There's a lot of those. But there's I think there's I just don't want to, I have to make sure I get the name right, but there's a Luiz Bonfa record called Enchanted Mirror. I don't know if you've ever heard that one, but the song is called Enchanted Mirror as well. And I think there's something just like, it's got this like reset kind of feeling for me where it's like, it doesn't, it's just him playing classical guitar like he does.
Oh, yeah.
But
I don't think I've heard that record. I know some of his stuff. I'm looking at the cover for that record is incredible.
It kind of, that song makes you feel exactly like that. It's like you're literally like a stoned brick man head guarded by bricked roosters and like some kind of night, and then all of a sudden your head is filled with seagulls and the blue sky.
Oh my god, that's like a beautiful description of. I love that. That's my kind of music writing right there.
Like,
wow. Okay, I'm gonna.
It's a great. It's you know what's really cool? There's like a moment. There's like the nerdy part of me is like there's a moment there where he's playing this like passage, and then there's kind of like this like interlude in the passage where he like is moving to a new section, but when they do it, they do this like weird like flangey chorus effect on it, and it's just like, what?
That's
what, who decided to like ramp that up right there, and and it's great. Yeah, it's so amazing to me. So
I love moments like that in like a record or a song where it seems like a producer or someone or engineer or music somebody had this this like seemingly nonsensical idea of, and it's like, where did that come? But it just works, and it's like, well, that's why you're the
boss.
Yeah. That's great. Gosh, I can't stop staring at this cover. I love this cover so much. This is like my vibe. Well, okay. What's a song that or the last song, I guess, that you completely fell in love with?
Yeah, that's hard. Because I have a lot that I fall in love with, but I tend to kind of like, I default to this one because I think she writes a lot of music now as well, but there's a contemporary composer from Brazil. Her name is Luiza Brina, Luiza Brina, Brina, and she has a song called oh my gosh, back in Bahia, I think. uh yeah, back in Bahia. And Bahia is spelled Bhia. And we met last or the year before in Sao Paulo, and I'm just like such a huge fan of hers, and we've been like recording music together, but this is like one of the first songs I've heard of hers, and it's just so dope. And like I never really cover people's songs live, and I've covered her song a couple of times last year, and I just like absolutely love her music. It's just like she's just such a brilliant soul. But this song is like just was so wonderful.
I haven't heard this one, so I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have a lot of like post episode homework.
Yeah, sorry, no,
no, it's great. This is like what I live for. Like I'm obsessed with music. Like I think, as I always say in the intro, like I think about sound and music more than's probably healthy. And one of the things that makes me just, a lot of people find it overwhelming how much music there is in the world. And it is overwhelming. I mean, I understand that, but for me, like, I just love knowing that there is always something else out there that I haven't heard yet that is gonna like just blow my mind or make me feel something. And I try not to worry about it, and just like these things, it'll find me when it's time.
Yeah.
And so like I love this is why I do this, because I get to learn about stuff I didn't know about. I get to so I've got like a bunch of new tabs open here to
No, I feel the same way. I'm sure a lot of people who listen feel the same way as you, where it's just like we love discovering, and I feel like it's so exciting to have that kind of like just like that reveal of just like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, and in stuff like this, just like conversations where you like, I mean, obviously this is, we're recording this the day after all the horror news with like the Pitchfork layoffs and all that stuff happened. And, thinking about like how it's harder, like there are fewer and fewer places where you can sort of organically or like find out about things from real humans. Right. I mean, that's why it's like these conversations are just, talking to your friends and whatever are so important, because that's like really where, for me, like that's where I find out about so much great stuff. But it's like, something like this, the algorithm's never going to feed me this.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
no, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. No. And I think about that, and I feel for like all the folks who are just like laid off, because it's like the energy that gets put into writing is so beautiful, because it's like it has to do with listening, and listening requires you enjoying it, and then like being moved, and it's like requires like all this time, and it's just like someone spent some specific amount of time on this, and if there's like a mutual like cyclical respect for it, then it kind of like emanates from like whatever's been expressed, and so it's like either the writing or the music or whatever, the share. It's just like you feel like damn. Like like are missed, there's just not enough. I mean, even what you're doing, I feel like this is like so exciting, because it's like wherever people can find this kind of work where there's passion and there's quality and there's talent, I think it's there needs to be more of it. So
yeah, totally agree. All right, well, we're in the home stretch. We got 2 more to go, the sort of quote unquote big questions.
Yeah.
So what is the song that means the most to you? And it's maybe not even necessarily because of the song itself, but because of what you associate it with, an experience or a person or something that just makes it all that much more meaningful.
Yeah, there's a Prefuse 73 song called Afternoon in Love. And him and I worked together a lot. I helped produce a few of his records, and we did Savath and Savalas together, the last record or two. And but we became friends around the time when his first record was really blowing up, because of a lot of mutual acquaintances that we had. And but I was like obsessed with this record because I got the promo CD from a friend who had it on a burnt CDR in like, I don't know, like 99 or 2000. And they brought, my friends, were on Miami, and they brought it up to me when I was going to college in Savannah. And, I was just like, what? And I had bought, prior to hearing this, I had purchased an MPC because I was making beats, and they were like, yeah, he makes all of this on an MPC. And I was like, what? And I was like, so then I had to just like, so that meaning like the moment in time for me was like such a formative moment. It was like I was like listening to this and being like, damn, like I'm definitely not even like close to understanding what I can be doing with this machine, or just like creatively thinking about what's possible. And I think it's like a hallmark in like in creative expression, not just like in electronic music, but I think in music itself. And I think for me, it was like it was an important moment of like an internal shift to kind of like take note of like more and what's possible.
Yeah, I can totally see that. It still blows my mind when I think about this was all done on an MPC.
Yeah.
And it's like this perfect, this wonderful example, like the sample selection on here is just on another level, and the way he uses those to compose this, and then the fact that it's all done on this, like it's amazing piece of music. And that whole record is great. And again, I mean, it's like, geez, what, 25 years old now, something like that. Whew.
Yeah,
that makes me feel old.
Yeah,
all right, well,
I remember like I recorded it to mini disc, so and I would like scooch around town on with a mini disc player, you know.
I remember the first CD I ever put out, I mastered it from 4-track to a mini disc player to send it into the pressing plant.
Yeah, that was like your master was your mini disc.
Yeah, because it was, it was the only way. It was the only way to record. Like I didn't have a reel to reel or anything, and that was the other. Jeez. All right, Roberto. Last song, last one. Big question. At least in this moment in time, right now, what is your favorite song?
In this moment in time, what's my favorite? Oh, geez. Do I have an answer for this? Oh, yeah, I do. It's been my favorite song. I say this only as like as a way to kind of like excite people. Like people are like, "What's your favorite song?" And I just say this just because it's like I think it possibly opens up doors for people who are not listening to what's going on in Latin America or maybe things like that. And it's the Meridian Brothers, Huaracha UFO. And I feel like they've kind of gotten like some steam in the past year or so, which well deserved, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been such a huge super fan of their work. And Eblis, he's like in his own right, he's got all these like really contemporary experimental works that he does that are just like more like modern contemporary, like really out there pieces that he does with like choral work as well. So it's like it's really distinct. Like he does like all this like wild contemporary writing in classical and like weirdo kind of world, and then he does like Meridian Brothers, but he's got a couple other bands and he's like really into like weirdo cumbia stuff as well. But yeah, he's one of those people where I feel like the dimensionality of like his like work is so big, and then like so it's like for me I'm like, just listen to this and this shit will get you hyped and you're like, what am I listening to? I love this, right? You know. Yeah,
this is the perfect gateway because it's like it's so there's like a playfulness to it, and it's like so, talking about going back to the beginning of our conversation, you're talking about like those parties that you're and like seeing how music can just spark like this joyful feelingness, and this like this song, this music is so joyous and it's fun, but it's also it's like layer upon layer of virtuosity because it's so incredible, and this song too just makes me want to get up and move. Like you can't sit still.
Yeah, I agree. And like when the vocals come in, you're just like, what? You're like, what?
I know.
Everything before that was just like a prelude to what was about to happen. You're just like, what the fuck? You're just like,
yeah, amazing song. And they're from Colombia, right? They're from Bogota, mm-hmm. I think.
Yeah. They're from Colombia, and all these records are so great. There's a song on one of their albums, and it's such a like, it's so dope, and it's like I can't think of the name right now. I'd have to look it up, but maybe I can find it really quickly if you guys please stay entertained. Wow. No one even gets distracted. But there's an album that they put out, and looks like Bandcamp is down, so it's got a 501 service. There you go. Everybody got shut down. Everyone's shut down now. Anyways, well, the song is about like professionalism in the industry. And it's like the silence that's on, and what he's singing, he's like, essentially he's singing that he's like throwing props to his friends that are doing dope things in the industry. And he says like all these different artist names. So if you ever wanted to know more, like all these different artists, who to like branch off of, like the people that he's like kind of throwing props and respect to, it's a great one to listen to, because you're just like, oh damn. And some of them, a couple of friends of mine like get shout out there, like Lido Pimienta and a few other friends, but it's really cool. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
I just like that somebody would do that in their music. Like I don't really see that happening in like the indie rock scene. Somebody's like saying like, they're shouting out their contemporaries, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's like a real like selflessness, real like care to support the people around you. And I think that for me, like it embodies like a great artist,
Yeah. And I mean, we need more of that. I mean, the state of, we're all it's tough out there. And so we need more of that. I think that spirit in music and art and all of these things. So, well, yeah, that's a perfect place to end. So the record is out on February 9th.
Yeah. Record's out on February 9th. I'm going on a world tour, guys. So everybody buy your tickets. First show's in Atlanta, then Orlando, and then Texas and West Coast. And then we're going to Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia.
Oh man. World tour for real.
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, come
awesome.
find us.
Awesome. I will make sure to have links to all of that in the show notes. And I know you're playing in Dallas. I think it's as close as you're getting to me. I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so it's about 4 hours away. So I need to look at the dates and see if there's a way I can make a road trip. But
that would be
fingers
wonderful.
Crossed. So
yeah, if you do, let me know. I'm here. We're here for you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Roberto, this was incredible. Thank you so much for doing this. Everybody buy the record. It is a joy.
Thanks, man. Thank you for existing. And this show was wonderful. Keep supporting Brad, man.
Thank you. Once again, 1,000 thanks to Helado Negro for taking the time out of his very busy schedule to sit and talk to me for an hour. And just, we had so much fun. And he's super busy. He's like prepping for huge tour, world tour. The show dates are the link to the dates are in the show notes. And really hope if he's coming to a town near you, get out and see him, buy his record, just support all the stuff he's doing. It's, you'll feel better. I promise. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for the feedback on the shows. If you like this show, please leave a rating on wherever you're listening to it. A review is even better, but those kind of things really help get it out there. And I want more people to hear this because I think these episodes are freaking awesome. And you can, again, contact me through social media. Just look for Foxy Digitalis. Send me an email. And, of course, patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis. As little as $3 a month. It does a lot. And, and then you can yell at me over there. And, hey, then I'm required to listen. No, I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for listening. And in the meantime, until next time, keep on listening to whatever the hell you want.